is the really cold day, although it's kind of cold there all week. But if you look at the 10-day forecast for Fayetteville, on Friday the high is 34. Saturday it's all the way up to 44. High of 44, low of 19. It's going to be sunny during the day, and then 19 is the low. I guess we talked about that yesterday a little bit as well.
How quickly does it get to the low?
I mean, that's probably like somewhere between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., I would guess.
Not that 5 or 6 degrees makes any difference. For what it's worth, KJ Jefferson's practiced all week. So it sounds like he's going to play. I mean, you would think if he's practicing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, he's going to play. How healthy is he, though? We'll see.
So, a clavicle issue is how they have described it. Bruised, splintered, fractured, broken, hairline. I don't know, but you're talking collarbone right? I mean, and it's on his throwing shoulder, or that side of his body.
They're going to have to be prepared for all three, I think. You can't and of course they are. I mean, that's why you pay millions of dollars for analysts, right? So they can analyze everything. But like you mentioned, if it's a throwing shoulder issue and with the physicality he plays with and takes a bad sack or whatever, or he's running the football and takes one hit from Troy Brown, you don't know who's coming in after him.
Or running the football and delivers a hit.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the type runner that he is. Kelso, who is our smart weather guy, says the low is generally an hour or so before the sun starts to peak over the horizon. So we're saying what, 5 a.m.? It's going to be the low, the overnight low? It's whatever. It's going to be really cold. And it's probably going to be in the low to mid-30s at kickoff, and it's going to fall from there. Not terribly windy. Thought we were going to be able to visit with Trey Biddy. Have not been able to connect with him on the Farm Bureau guest line. He is a publisher at hogsports.com. So maybe that'll work later in the show. Maybe it won't. Whatever. I'm curious what stands out to you guys when you look at this Arkansas team. Hey, Dad, Mississippi State has played Arkansas this year. Faced Malik Hornsby as the starter.
Mm-hmm. Cade Fortin actually started that game.
That's right. Cade Fortin started and was awful. And then they went to
Hornsby. Not good. And he was effective, but not effective enough.
So what stands out to you for Arkansas?
They're a lot worse than I thought they would be. You know, if you go back to the preseason, I had Arkansas second in the West and losing only to Alabama and Mississippi State. Defensively, it's crazy how bad they are. You know, Odom's a good coordinator, and I know they lost some guys, but they had those two good linebackers there, and I know, you know, of course, preseason they had Catalan, but they have just been bad all year defensively, and that's what's been very surprising to me. Offensively, they're about where I thought they'd be, maybe a little less effective. Obviously, losing Treylon Burks is a huge blow, but I thought they'd be a little bit better running the football this year. And I mean, they're just really a mediocre football team. They're just not very good. Which is weird because I think Ole Miss is a good football team, but right now, I mean, Arkansas could beat Ole Miss. I think they could definitely beat Ole Miss. So
the home field first down away from beating LSU.
They are. They're a field goal going over the other side of the upright from beating Texas A&M and sitting there at what, 7-2 or 8-2, and being right there in the mix of everything. So.
Well, hold on.
That's true. That's true about a lot of teams.
Overall. 2-4 in the SEC.
Okay, so
Texas
they'd be 6-3
is one that
or 7-3.
You could easily flip, and instead of 5-5, you're 6-4, and you don't have to get your brain in too big of a pretzel to have them winning over Liberty, and so they're 7-3. And frankly, with a healthy KJ Jefferson against LSU last week, maybe they're 8-2, even with the defensive issues that they've had.
Yeah,
they were pretty.
We
good
could play if you want to play the what if game. for the what-if game, if they stop Alabama on, 3rd and 15, where Milroe runs that long one into the end zone, they're down 5 and can get the ball back with all the momentum in the world. So Arkansas is the West outside of LSU and, in a way, Alabama is full of these teams there. One thing could have gone the other way, and they'd have a couple more losses. One thing could have gone the other way, and they'd have a couple more wins. State is that way. Ole Miss could be that way, whether you look at Kentucky and Tulsa. A&M has got a couple of games where, like, if they could have just done something here or there, they would have won. Auburn, maybe the least likely of that example, but State certainly.
There are a couple of things statistically that jump out about this Arkansas team. They have only had 3 games this year where the first number in their rushing total was a 1. They went for 187 on 51 carries against Alabama. They went for 144 on 42 carries against Liberty and 133 on 46 carries against LSU. Other than that, 224 on the ground against Cincinnati, 295 South Carolina, 212 Missouri State, 244 against A&M, 241 against Mississippi State, 277
That's 2 losses there where they had
BYU.
240 yards rushing.
I know. Now, in terms of passing, there have only been 2 games this year where the first number in the passing yardage was a 3. 385 against Missouri State, 367 at BYU. And most recently against LSU, 116 yards passing.
And that was in part because Jefferson didn't play, but still, I can't help but wonder if Ole Miss is going to look pretty similar defensively. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. When you watch that game, it felt like Ole Miss completely changed their approach from LSU to Alabama. Where they decided, look, Bryce Young's a Heisman Trophy winner, I get it, but got to create some havoc. And they ran 4 down linemen. Their defensive backs and safeties were closer to the line of scrimmage, and they decided to essentially take a risk of getting beat deep in spots. I have a feeling they're going to do the same thing here, where they're going to run some 4-man fronts if everybody's healthy enough to do it. They're going to stack the box. They're going to have their corners closer to the wide receivers, and they're going to try to create havoc, because I don't think Arkansas is equipped to win in havoc. Jefferson's not 100%. I don't think they have the wide receivers that can consistently win one-on-one matchups with Ole Miss's secondary. Hell, Alabama didn't have the receivers that could consistently win one-on-one matchups with Ole Miss's secondary. Not really. There are a lot of times where Bryce Young was throwing to guys that were completely covered, where he had to throw the ball away because there was nobody open downfield. How many times in the broadcast did they show the overhead shot of the Ole Miss secondary against Alabama's receivers, and everybody's covered? They're going to do the same thing, I think, in Arkansas and create havoc, and when they do that, if they do that, I should say, they will win. Got to be able to do that, though.
So here's the other piece of it. So it was, first of all, looking at Arkansas's numbers against their opponents. What about the opponents' numbers against Arkansas? Cincinnati threw for 325. South Carolina, 377. Missouri State threw it for 357. Now, Texas A&M only had 151 yards passing, but you kind of toss that one out. Alabama threw for 238. Mississippi State went for 406 through the air. Is that Mississippi State's best game? 406 through the air, 162
Easily.
on the ground? Okay.
Yeah.
BYU threw for 356 and 3 touchdowns. Auburn had 285 yards passing.
That's all you need to know.
Now, in the last 2 weeks, Liberty 224 and LSU 86. Arkansas's kind of changed their scheme defensively. There's been a whole lot more pressure by Arkansas's defense in the last couple of weeks. LSU did run it for 200. Auburn ran it for 183. Alabama went for 317 on the ground against Arkansas back on October 1st. We got more coming up with you, Sports Talk.